What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on Rangers Central, and today we are going to explore the possibility of one of the many free agent targets here that I want the Rangers to target, and honestly a guy they could even trade for as of right now if they wanted to, because it's been reported and well documented that this guy's on the block, and as you can tell by the title and thumbnail, that's no other than Jake Guentzel. So yes, it's time to make people mad, because this is the guy that I was on my hands and knees for at the deadline, begging the Rangers to get to no end, and of course it didn't happen. What's done is done. It is what it is. But now the Rangers have a legitimate chance to get him, and guess what? It's not going to cost a single damn asset. The only thing it's going to cost them is a pretty penny, and I was trying to think of ways to make it work, and I'm not going to lie, it really wasn't that bad, considering the fact that I factored it in based on what Evolving Hockey has him projected. I used the Evolving Hockey model in terms of projection, so that factors in Braden Schneider's extension, that factors in the Jake Guentzel contract, all that stuff. Before we jump into everything, though, leave a like on the video if you do enjoy. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're Ranger fans, and turn on your notifications so you know I upload or go live. So obviously the first thing that we'll address, why is Jake Guentzel fit? Well, if you don't think Jake Guentzel's a fit, I think you're a lunatic. I'll be honest with you. Again, the only reason you could argue Jake Guentzel shouldn't be a Ranger and stuff like that is because of the fact that his cap hit's going to be somewhat steep. Like, it's not steep considering the talent, but you could argue that it's going to be steep, and that's why you wouldn't want a guy like Jake Guentzel. For cap reasons, I understand that that is completely a valid argument. I'm not going to dispute anyone saying for cap logistical reasons, this would not make sense. But if you think that he would not make sense from a roster standpoint, you are out of your damn mind. The Rangers have obviously needed a top-line right winger ever since the departure of Pavel Buchnevich. Even beyond that, you could argue, because there were, like, Buchnevich was here for such a short stint that you could argue that the last consistent guy they had trotting out there on that right wing next to Mika and Kreider is a guy like Zuccarello, but even then that was short-lived. So when it comes to Jake Guentzel, I mean, the resume speaks for itself with his time with the Pittsburgh Penguins. You look back at it, wasn't there for that cup run that they won in 15-16, but 16-17 was there. 21 points in 25 games played in his rookie year in the playoffs. 13 goals, 8 assists. The guy has more goals than in the playoffs than Kaapo Kakko probably has in one season. Sorry to take a shot there, Kakko, but still, like, in the regular season, even 16 goals, 13 in the playoffs. The guy is a playoff guy. So there is no disputing the fact that you might be like, oh, this team doesn't need skill, finesse, stuff like that. No, the guy finds ways to the middle of the ice and does a pretty damn good job at it. You look at 17-18, 10 goals, 11 assists, and 21 points in 12 games played. You look at some of these playoff numbers, a little more underwhelming, but I mean, 10 points in 7 games against the New York Rangers, of course. We remember that series very well, where he exploded on them. And then this year at the Carolina Hurricanes, he had 4 goals, 5 assists, 9 points in 11 games played. I know people are going to say that he looked a little invisible in that Ranger series after a couple of games. To me, I would honestly somewhat agree, because he was still making things happen throughout the ice, and he does play with a bit of sandpaper in his game as well. So it's not like this is a guy that's just all skill, finesse. You're not going to, like, he's going to turtle when the playoffs come around. No, this is a guy that's a proven winner and has proven that he could play without Sidney Crosby. So the Sidney Crosby merchant narrative, stuff like that, that could all be put to rest. The guy's proven in Carolina and very effectively that he is very well still an effective player beyond that. But then you want to get to the all three zones model. Again, shout out to Corey there with the model. I mean, the guy's good at everything you could ask for, pretty much. The only thing you could argue that he's not good at is defensive zone things, but you're not paying him to play defense. You're paying him to be a top 6 right winger, a play driver that is going to produce an absurd level at 5v5. That's what you are getting with Jake Guentzel, and that's what you're asking for him. You're not asking him to play defense, and even then, he is not the worst when it comes to playing a two-way game. I think a lot of that does have to do, especially this year, with playing for a team like Carolina, who does like to play more of a defensive mold, and he still ended up playing ridiculous offensively and putting up a ridiculous amount of points. You look at the Evolving Hockey RAM charts, which I do got to move my face cam, if I could find it. There we go. Move my face cam for you guys so you guys could see that. But you look at, you know, the goals for stuff like that through the roof. I mean, defensively, again, you're not asking him necessarily to kill penalty. So you can't even be mad at that. And if you want to go a year back even, again, or not just kill penalties, but also, again, play defense, Mika and Kreider do that fine enough, because that's where you'd envision he slots in. Then you look at the offensive percentile. Again, the defense, not good, but Mika and Kreider could very well hold their own defensively. I think you're going to be completely fine not having him play defense if he's going to be putting up like 30 goals for this team. Now we get to how this is going to work with the cap. And obviously there's a lot of gymnastics that get involved here. So the first thing that I did, I signed Braden Schneider to that projected cap hit that Evolving Hockey has, which is a 2 by 2.1, a little over that, keep the change. And then that ends up, you know, factoring in a bit there. Jake Guentzel on Evolving Hockey. This could obviously be different. He could get higher. He could get lower. He's projected at 7 years at 9.645, which I think is realistic for a guy like Jake Guentzel, considering he's not the top guy on the market. It is still Reinhart. He's still obviously an elite talent, but I expect him to sign in that range, because I don't think he's going to be the guy that could reach, you know, the 10 million and over type. Maybe he pushes it, but I think he gets kind of in that ballpark, just because he's a guy at the end of the day that he hasn't put up, he has like 180 point season in his career at the end of the day. But yeah, I think that he still is going to get a very pretty penny. Then when you get to the trade, right now it's rumored that Carolina wants middle round draft picks. They don't have a third for a very long time. I don't think Carolina is going to like that. So I did a fourth and a fifth, which does hurt the draft capital quite a bit. But at the end of the day, you give what you can if you can negotiate this guy to a contract, and right now, because this guy would fit so well on this team. And then obviously the other two things I did to make it work cap-wise, you have to buy out Barclay Goodrow and you have to buy out Jacob Trouba. There's just simply no other way to get it done unless you buy out those two. You get Jake Guentzel on that deal, slots in. You have a legitimate top six here a little bit more, even though I don't like Mika, of course, as a 1C. We could argue that all day. Regardless, though, you have a better looking top six with a guy like Jake Guentzel. And then if things aren't working, all right, you want to put Lafreniere on that line, go ahead, and then Guentzel could go there if you want to switch things up further. All right, well, we could do something like this: Panarin, Zibanejad, Lafreniere, Kreider, Trocheck, Guentzel. It just opens up an option. Like, it opens up a door that you didn't have before with guys like Roslovic and guys like Kakko, Wheeler in your top six, where now you have flexibility with your lineup of who you could throw in the top six, where you could throw them around. Jake Guentzel's comfortable playing with the left wing. Maybe Chris Kreider's finally done being stubborn and you could do something like this even. I'm just throwing out options out there for, you know, different line combinations that you could do with this type of flexibility that you would have with a guy like Jake Guentzel. And again, it just opens up such a big door of opportunity. And the Rangers, cap-wise, I just have Brodzinski and Harper here, by the way, as, you know, to fill out the roster, because it's going to affect the cap, because ideally you want a 22-man roster. That would give them about like $5 million to sign a left shot D-man on their second pair / first pair if they wanted to spend there instead. And then it would give them 1.5 to sign, which it shouldn't even cost that much, to get a bottom pair right shot defenseman, because I think it's time to just give Schneider the reins at that point if Jacob Trouba is leaving in the offseason. I think it's time to just give Braden Schneider the reins there. But yeah, you get Jake Guentzel in this lineup. And then even then, you think about the power play too. Like, that opens up such a big door for the power play to have two legitimate units, because you want Lafreniere to finally get the top minutes, and then maybe you put Guentzel and Panarin on the second unit. Maybe you put Mika and Guentzel on the second unit. And all of a sudden, you just have so many more options with the versatility with this lineup. And then all of a sudden, you reshape the bottom six, maybe get a little more sandpaper there. Ideally, again, I would still argue maybe you want to move on from a guy like Philip Hedl just to get a little more sandpaper in the lineup and get a little bit more, like, I don't know the word I'm looking for outside of sandpaper, but you want guys that have sandpaper and can play, obviously, because you don't want to make the mistakes you made with guys like Nemeth and guys like Reeves. But again, like, that's neither here nor there, because you have the luxury right now of having a couple guys on ELCs to try out with Will Cooley, Othman, Edstrom, Rempe, and then even Brett Berard's probably going to push in camp for a spot. Maybe Sikora pushes. So you have a little bit of leeway with guys like that. And then VC, you know, experienced guy on a league minimum deal. You have some options there, and it gives the Rangers just so much more flexibility. That's the point that I'm getting at when it comes to that. And again, the only argument I could get here is that cap-wise, it does make it tough, because then all of a sudden you're talking about not just for this year, but the long term for this team. You look at the long-term outlook, and then all of a sudden Guentzel heavy payday, but still, I mean, this team would have 27 million in cap space going into the next offseason. I know they have a couple guys to sign, but realistically, the only guys that are going to command big deals are obviously Igor Shesterkin and then Alexi Lafreniere, because I think Cooley gets the sweetheart deal. Rempe, sweetheart deal there. Miller will probably get paid a bit, but I don't think anything too crazy. Like, you're still in a very solid spot financially, even if you went down this avenue of getting a guy like Jake Guentzel. And again, things hinge on who the defenseman might be that they sign, because they might not be on one-year deals. But you're not in a bad spot financially if you do that. Again, the only argument might be you're spending too much on the top six, where you need flexibility to spend the bottom six. But to that, I also argue, all right, well, you look at the long-term outlook. Panarin, 1 year left, not bad. And the other argument I'll make here is that it's way easier to revamp the bottom six come the deadline versus the top six, as we could very clearly see from this trade deadline. So if you're asking me, Jake Guentzel, if the option's there and they can make this sort of deal happen, I'm doing it 1,000 times out of 1,000. Like, not even a debate. That's how much I think Jake Guentzel would help this team. But obviously, let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Let me know how much you hate the idea. Let me know how much you love the idea. Just want to hear from you guys. Again, we're going to be speculating all offseason. I'm not saying all these things are definitely happening. It's just throwing ideas at the wall and seeing what sticks and seeing what can maybe happen and getting your thoughts on these potential ideas. But let me know your thoughts. Leave a like if you haven't already. Subscribe to. Turn on your notifications. I'll see you guys in the next one.